What is up, guys? It is a beautiful Thursday afternoon. I'm going to say it every time now because I said something about it last time. Here in Ohio, nice and cold and raining and windy, and it's really not all that beautiful. But here we are in front of you guys. I am excited for tonight's show. We will touch a little bit on the tournaments we have coming up, as well as, if you don't know, Willie Smith is having a tournament at Rocky Fork this Saturday. It starts at 8 a.m. Try to be there by 7:30. $50 entry. It is a single fish, one big fish event this Saturday. Rocky Fork. Willie Smith's putting it on. Those of you that don't know Willie, he is an awesome guy. I personally try to fish every single event that Willie has. And it's going to be a good event. It's going to be a great opportunity if you want to pre-fish before our event on Sunday and if you want to pre-fish before our boat event next Saturday. So, with nothing else to do, as always, I'm Corey Jeffers. This is the Mid-Ohio Catfishing Podcast. Let the video take us into the podcast. We will see you right back here.
Well, grab your boat and pole. We're heading for a fishing hole somewhere in the state of Ohio. You may fish in Sandusky, but we ain't gonna count no muskie. 'Cause it's the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. You may drag out to Lake Dillon. It depends on how you're feeling. It's the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. It don't cost much to enter. You may just be a winner at the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. At the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. Come on down and join us, you hear?
Listen, I know how catchy that song is, and I really want to see people singing that at the weigh-in because I sing it all the time. But, guys, he's in the back room right now getting ready. Tonight's going to be an awesome podcast. I know a lot of people were waiting on this one. A lot of people had questions. But we have with us today our polygraph examiner, Brad Kelly, and I am going to bring him on now. Brian says, no pictures of me. We'll get some this year. It's going to update throughout the year, Brian. Let's bring Brad in, guys. Brad, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So for those of you that don't know, this is Brad Kelly. He is going to be our polygraph examiner throughout the season when we need one. We've got him set up on all the events we think we're going to need one. I don't have that list in front of me, but we're going to see him quite often throughout the season. So, Brad, there's been some questions, more of like some comments going around in the fishing community about polygraphs and about fishing, and that's kind of what we're going to get into tonight, as well as I know there's going to be a couple guys that have some questions for you that jump in later. But before we get into all of that, could you please kind of introduce yourself and what makes you qualified as a polygraph examiner and kind of explain the process to us?
Yeah, I've been a polygraph examiner for 23 years. I'm certified, went through school. I'm a member of the American Polygraph Association, and I'm a former cop of 15 years full-time. Private investigation company I had, and then polygraph company I have now.
Okay. In your professional opinion, because it sounds like you're pretty decorated in what makes you a polygraph examiner, in your professional opinion, in fishing tournament settings, how accurate is the information that you can rely on from a polygraph?
Oh, it's 95, 98%. It's a screening test that we do. It's more like a pre-employment test we do on pre-employments for different employers and that kind of thing. It's approved by the American Polygraph Association, so it's not something that somebody's just, winging as they go along.
Okay. If an angler says Corey is purdy, does that make him automatically fail? Well, he would be lying, so I'd say that probably makes him fail. So I know that some of the questions that arose, one of them was from what's being passed around and information. There's a guy who's hosting a tournament. He's a first-time director, and he is doing a very good job and doing his due diligence in going out and finding information before making any decisions. I commend him for what he's doing. I did the same thing when I first started my trail. He called. We had a conversation at the very beginning when he said he was going to have this tournament, and polygraphs was one of the things we talked about. And I suggested if you're going to be paying out a large sum of money, a polygraph really helps just ensure with your anglers that you're doing everything you can to eliminate cheating. And go ahead.
And that's the case. Prime example. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. Up in Sandusky on a fishing tournament, they caught 2 guys pushing weights inside the fish when they cut them open after failing a polygraph exam. So, I mean, that's one prime example right there.
Right. Now, did they, because I heard conflicting stories there. I heard they passed that polygraph exam. Is that not true?
No, I heard they failed it.
Okay.
I was not the one that tested them, so I can't say for sure, but my understanding was they failed the test.
Okay. And then what do you know? They end up cheating along the road. So,
right.
Kind of case in point there. So, like I said, the guy who's putting on this tournament, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's going out and he has talked to several polygraph examiners all over the state. Obviously, so I'm in construction. My opinion of how you build something is different than the next guy's, But what I wanted to do with this podcast and kind of what I wanted to lay out was no matter what polygraph guy you talk to, what are the cold, hard facts about how a polygraph test should be administered, what's required in the polygraph test, who you can polygraph if there's health hazards or whatever that will exonerate somebody, how long you should wait to take a polygraph test. I don't know if I said it or not, what kind of environment you have to be in, because these are all questions that have been asked on Facebook over the last week. So to start off, the first case in point that people are talking about is that a polygraph for a fishing tournament needs to be a minimum of 90 minutes, but suggested to be over 2 hours long. What is your take on that?
That's not true. What they're pulling from on that is it's Employee Polygraph Protection Act of, I believe, 1983. And that requires any theft-related issue from an employer that you have to do at least a 90-minute test, okay? As far as, and that's with specific exams. In other words, if I'm testing you for murder, I'm testing you for rape, assault, those kind of things, as a law enforcement officer, sure, it's going to be longer. This is a screening test, okay? You need a STEM test. You need to have at least 3 charts, and you need to have questions that are related to the cheating questions on the, as far as the fishing cheating questions, okay, on the test. And that's what you need. You need a quiet environment. I know some people do it out in the open. I would suggest that's not the way to do it. I've never done a fishing tournament where I can't find some place private to do it with the examinee.
Okay. Now, how important is it that test is administered in a closed building with no windows?
I don't think it really matters with any windows or not windows. I mean, just as long as it's private, nobody's walking in and you're not disturbed.
Okay. So it's really just about seclusion. You should be secluded. You and
right.
the examiner and the testee, one-on-one, secluded, no distractions is really what you're aiming for.
That's correct.
Okay. Can you kind of walk us through the process of a fishing polygraph? Like when you're thinking of the questions that you're going to ask, what you do to prepare yourself for a fishing polygraph exam and how that test kind of plays out?
I don't want to go through a lot of the other questions that are on the exam. Prime example, you don't want to publish what's going on with that.
Right.
But like I said, I'm going to bring the individual in. I'm going to set them down. I'm going to talk about their background. I'm going to go through any criminal issues they may have, background issues as far as theft, stealing, credibility issues as far as lying, falsified, paperwork, whatever it may be.
Okay.
And then, once I get that background type of information, then we'll form the questions on usually 3 or 4 questions, what you want to stick to. You don't really want to go above 4. The accuracy test falls way off above 4.
Okay.
And then you do the exam. And it requires a STEM test. What the STEM test is, it's just to lock in their general nurseability settings and their settings in their body. Okay. And it gives you a kind of look of what a lie response is compared to a non-lie response when you do the STEM test. Once that's locked in, then you do the questions.
Okay. And just for example, on those beginning questions, it may be, is your name Corey? And I would say yes. Right. And obviously I'm telling the truth. It would show that I was telling the truth. And then you may come out and say, is your name John? If I say yes, it's going to show you that I'm lying.
Right.
And I believe you and I have actually had a test together when I won that King Cat event in Gallipolis. I believe that there was a point when you said, okay, I want you to blatantly lie about this one.
Right. Right.
Because you have to see what a lie looks like, what a truth looks like. So if so another question that was brought up was that in Ohio, a polygraph examiner doesn't need to be certified. Does anybody can go buy a $200 machine and take a polygraph? We obviously, you stated your background, so we know that's not you, but can you kind of touch on that?
They could. They could buy it off market. I'm not sure that like Stolding or some of the major polygraph companies is going to sell them a polygraph unit unless they can prove that they're been through a certified school. But they could. But good luck on running it. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, you can buy a polygraph unit, but you bring a polygraph unit into me, and I want you to sit down and explain what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Tosh is
because
actually,
you're not going to be able to do it.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. Just like you can't hand a toddler a hammer and tell them to go build you a house.
Right.
I'm specialized in what I do. You're specialized in what you do. Tosh Collins made it in, and he said hello.
Hey, how you doing, Tosh?
So like I said, the big thing that is just surrounding lie detectors and fishing tournaments, and the reason we wanted to get you on here is you're going to be the one we use in our trail. You're the one that Tosh uses in his trail. Obviously, you have a decorated background. You've been doing this a long time. How long have you been administering polygraph tests?
23 years.
23 years. Wow, that's quite a long time. I was in elementary
school. Over 10,000 exams.
Oh, wow. I don't know if this is an okay question to ask, and if it's not, that's fine. But out of those 10,000 exams, have you ever had one question?
What do you mean, like one question?
Like you said the person's telling the truth, or you said the person's lie, and what I'm leading into is one of the narratives that was put out on Facebook was that in a fishing tournament, if you fail a lie detector test, then just go sue the fishing tournament because you're going to win, because they can't not pay you because of a lie detector test, which I don't quite believe.
Anybody can sue anybody. I mean, that's the risk of your tournaments run. I mean, somebody could file a civil suit. I did a coyote tournament up in Pennsylvania, and the guy clearly failed the exam. He did file a small claims court case and got his money back, but it wasn't because of the polygraph. It was because they didn't advertise that they were doing the polygraph with enough time ahead of the tournament. So as long as you advertise it and as long as you list that in your rules and regulations, that's part of the requirement. They can't tell you what to do.
Right. Well, and that's so like in our rules, everybody has to sign a release stating they read our rules. And rule number 17, I think it is, says that we have the right to polygraph you at any one of our events should the need arise. So we put that in our rules because, again, some of these tournaments we're giving away. I mean, one of them we're giving away a free boat. We wouldn't want to give the boat away to someone who cheated. And I feel that using an experienced polygraph guy is how you eliminate that.
And that's been one incident in 23 years, what I'm talking about in the Pennsylvania with that coyote tournament. And they said the exact same thing. If they had listed it in the rules and regulations before the tournament, they would have denied his claim.
Okay. So, trying to think here. Tosh, you were on that post asking just as many questions as I was, Tosh. If you can think of anything else that was in there. I don't want to tie up too much of Brad's time, but I felt this was just an important discussion to have. And I know there was a lot of people who wanted to hear this discussion because of the fact that we don't, with any information that's given without specific citing or any kind of backstory, it's hard information to believe. So I said, you know what? I said, we'll squash this with our polygraph guy. We'll just bring him on. And when you all do it, when you offered to do it, that was awesome. Tosh wants to join us here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to – Tosh, look at your messenger. I'm sure he'll have more questions than I have because he was part of that discussion than I was.
And while you're doing that, to give a little insight, okay, prime example, what a polygraph does measures your physiological responses in your body, okay? So I know everybody out there that's listening to this podcast have lied to their wife, their mother, their dad, so forth, okay? And think back about when you did that and how your heart rate increased when you were telling that lie because you didn't want to get caught. It's the same principle with the fishing tournaments. They don't want to get caught.
So, let me get back over there. So that's kind of what when Tosh and I were talking about lie detectors the last time on my podcast when he was on here, we were talking about lie detectors, and we pretty much told everybody, if you don't want to fail a polygraph, if you have to think twice about it, you're probably going to fail. If what you're doing is on the line, you're probably going to fail. If you're doing it and you have good intentions in what you're doing, then you don't believe you broke the rules, then you're not going to fail. But if it says lines in at 7 and you drop your line in the water at 6:59 and you did it, well, then you're going to fail because
it's based on lie and truth.
Right.
That's just the bottom line.
I just sent that to Tosh. He'll be in here in a minute. So how common is it for lie detectors and fishing and professional fishing today?
It's common all over. I mean, I've got a buddy in Virginia that does the high price marlin tournaments in Virginia Beach. So, and he's done it for the last 10 years.
When you
from that to bass tournaments to catfish, you name it.
When you administer the test, and Tosh had touched on this before, there's certain readings that you get. You get inconclusive, a lie, and then I don't remember all what he said. Can you kind of explain that process and how a test works?
An inconclusive reading is I just can't tell. I mean, I can't tell whether he's lying or whether he's telling the truth.
Okay.
You know, if he's telling the truth, you get a no deception indicated, and if he's lying, then it's deception indicated on the test.
Okay, and then an inconclusive is the test.
Well, like I said, you just don't know. I don't know whether he's telling the truth or whether he's lying or telling the truth. So,
how often do you get that reading?
It happens. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but it's not a common thing.
Okay.
And that's part of that is preparation by the examiner with the examinee.
Okay. So in Tasha's tournaments and what we're doing as well, if you read our rules, is if you get that inconclusive, we just then go to the partner. And
we're going to go to the partner. Yes. And if the partner can't pass it, then we go to the second place or so on and so on.
Okay. Tosh, I know you know how to work your phone. You're on that thing all day. Here he is.
Hey, how you doing?
Maybe. We got a still image of him anyways. Guys in chat, do you guys have any questions for Brad about lie detectors? I mean, you guys will ultimately be the ones taking the tests. So please ask any questions that you guys want. As soon as Tosh gets his internet figured out, I'm sure he's got some questions too. Let's get them all out while we got Brad here. You know, this is the time to ask Brad questions. Let's not do it when you're sitting down with him to take a test because you won.
All right.
Tosh,
Can you hear me?
Did you get your internet?
Now.
All right. So simple question, Brad. We've worked together before. We know each other, right?
Right.
So if I enter an agreement with you and I'm going to host a tournament and I come to you and I tell you, I want to make sure that we are testing the people upon their decisions and actions within this tournament that day. Are you going to pay any credence to what possibly might come up when entering baseline questions about their history?
Meaning?
So if I'm a felon, I'm going to use me because we all know you were a detective in my county. If I'm a felon and you have a history with me and I've been convicted of a crime before with you, when I go into a polygraph with you for a fishing tournament, your baseline questions are to establish a positive and negative answer, correct?
Right. And then and you're talking about your background. I'm not gonna use that to fail you if that's what you're talking about.
That's my question.
But what I'm gonna do with that is I'm gonna develop questions from that background that's gonna help you through the test if you didn't do anything wrong during the fishing tournament. You see what I'm saying?
That's my question.
It isn't gonna matter if you cheated in the fishing tournament, you brought fish in, you weighed them down, whatever you may do. If you're being deceptive, it doesn't matter what I ask you about your background. It's not going to help you pass that test.
That's my first question. My second question, obviously, since we work together, I've always told you I have a pass, fail, and inconclusive. Can you kind of explain how that works with the number that you read because I don't know your job, but obviously you read the polygraph as it spits out. And we've worked together where it's, I want to pass, I want to fail, and I want to inconclusive, because we all know polygraphs aren't administrable in court. They are very good.
See, that's a misconception most people have.
Okay, that's what I want you to touch on.
That it's not. They say it's not admissible in court. I do several sex offender testing programs, and I'm not going to mention where they're at, but nope. they're in counties that I'm associated with in Ohio, and I've done them for years. I've done for the feds in the past and present, and they are admissible in court on those polygraphs. For example, if they violate one of their conditions of probation, they take that polygraph and use that to violate them, send them back to prison, give them, whatever disciplinary action that they're going to, give as far as that. They use them in court as far as any criminal cases when it's stipulated to. And they've been mostly used recently in domestic related courts for divorces and so forth.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted you to touch on that. I'm going to be the bad advocate guy. I'm not asking the right questions. I want you to give your opinion. So, exactly, your tests are 100% backed in court, whether it's criminal or if I run a tournament and somebody sues me, I've entered into an agreement with you. Your data that you collect, you will back, correct?
Correct.
That's my point right there. Right. So this man is, Brad, I'm sorry to put you out. This man is responsible for bad guys being in jail. If he was questionable, wouldn't those bad guys have a reason to come back on you?
Right.
And that's why it's not. We do pass, fail, and inconclusive.
And you're going to find that probably 99% of the examiners in Ohio and other states that are doing fishing tournaments are APA certified. If you had a bad examiner out there, you can't get membership to the American Polygraph Association first off. Okay. Now, Ohio is not a licensed state, but in my example, I was licensed down in Tennessee for a long period of time, and I'm still licensed in Indiana. So most you're going to find, like, for example, my buddy over in Virginia, he's licensed over in Virginia. They use him all the time on fishing tournaments. So even King Cat has used my buddy and currently uses me also. So
I do got one final kind of question to round it off. So there's also the misconception that polygraph, if you're charging, and I'm as transparent as can be, I published your letter to me. You charge me $275 a test. That's not saying that's everybody's price. That's the price you charge me for my test. Is that ridiculously too low? Because the other argument is a good polygrapher should charge $2,000 to $3,000 per test. And how would that work out within fishing tournaments on your end? And how would that work out within court cases on your end?
Okay, so let's go ahead of that, and let's look what I charge attorneys. Okay, if you get on my website, you see that I charge $575. Okay, now that is standard price for a polygraph exam in Ohio, and usually what that means is I'm testing fidelity issues, husband and wife issues, maybe some employer issues under the EPA law, so forth. A lot of times I'll charge attorneys $700 to $1,000 on exams. It's just a different pricing that examiners list for different reasons.
And
competition
just like anything, I mean, this is capitalism. So just like anything, I charge what I charge to build decks. You charge what you charge to do polygraphs. Tosh can, if he was a licensed polygraph, he can charge whatever he wants because it's free enterprise. We can charge whatever we want for the service, whatever you feel you're worth. And like, for instance,
you can charge whatever you want.
In my instance, and in Tosh's instance, if we're going to bring you back multiple times, it benefits you in the long run to give a discount.
And see what you got to remember, Tosh is it Indian Lake, right?
Yeah,
and that's my next topic. Just hold on, stop. Don't go any further. That's my next topic. Just stop.
Okay.
Brad Kelly, you are a local here to Indian Lake. You are a local to Logan County. Right. You have a dock. You have a boat. You are a lake rat, correct?
Right.
All right. So Brad Kelly, even though his professional world goes far beyond the reaches of Indian Lake, he's doing our lake and my connection with Corey, our state, a service in which that we have respect, and he provides a proper platform for. The value is in of what we all represent. And if you guys want to touch bases on that, that's really all I had to come in and say, is a clear and cut dry.
Here's my point with Indian Lake. It's 10 minutes up the road from me to go do your test. Okay. If I'm traveling down, Gallipolis and Dusky, or I'm going over for King Cat down in Alabama or over in Illinois, there's cost for travel. I mean, I've got to make a living.
Absolutely. Well, and you even said it when I was talking to you about traveling, because we travel all over the state. You said, before I give you my price, are you going to comp me a room? There's expenses in going out, and maybe everybody doesn't comp you a room. So everybody's price is going to be different depending on how it goes. And I do feel that again, if we're going to bring you out 5 times, and I don't publicize what we pay for that stuff, but if we're going to bring you out 5 times and you cut me a little bit of a deal, I'm using you 5 times in a row. If I go back to build a fence at a person's house that I build a deck, I'm going to give them a deal on the fence. I've already been there once.
Right.
Exactly. And residual income is what everybody needs. I'd like to tell you, I could give you 100 tests a year, and then you only have to test for me or whatever. You know what I mean? But
sure,
that's what makes the world go around.
I'm going to kind of leave this, you guys. I think you need to test and read anxiety. What's the anxiety? Criminal effect. Brad, if you're polygraphing me, and we've had this discussion before, if you're polygraphing me 20 years ago, how would you approach that compared to today? We all know what I did 20 years ago compared to what I do today.
Oh,
and as a polygraph person, you're just looking out for the integrity of what you do, your tests, right?
Right. But let's go back 20 years ago, with you also.
That's what I want to do.
I want, if you're clear and you're not deceptive and you didn't do the crime, I'm going to clear you.
Yep.
Period. It doesn't matter.
And if somebody, in your baseline questions, if you say, have you ever stolen anything? And they say yes, it's not like you're immediately hanging up the test and calling the cops like, hey, this guy robbed a house back 20 years ago. You're just establishing a baseline. Yep. And it does, when you're doing those baseline tests, those baseline questions, it helps the person to be truthful. It doesn't, you don't care about their past.
It's of angler benefit to be wholly and honestly truthful and to be explanation. So if Brad asked me the question, have you ever stolen from somebody, a family member or a known friend? If I look Brad in the eye and say, yeah, man, I stole 10 grand from my dad. They were gold coins. It was an investment. And my uncles came after me, and, I had to return the coins. He will be able to detect the truthfulness in which I say, even though I just put myself in the world of being a criminal.
He's not a cop. He
was a cop, but I like you, Brad. He is very good at his job, and he is very fair.
Yeah. Very.
You were a detective, right, in our county?
Right. I was a detective in Logan County Sheriff's Office and sergeant in Delaware County Sheriff's Office. And then I still hold a commission at Washington Township Police Department up in Indian Lake. And
all of them people I gladly work with and volunteer with. And remember, 20 years ago, this man was on the side of putting me away for other issues. But he's an honest man. And that's where my philosophy comes from. He will fight for what's right. And he uses science and his knowledge of it for the last 23 years to create a very good data basis.
To put all your guys at ease that are coming in taking a test, unless they sit down and tell me that they committed a homicide or a rape or child sexual abuse, I don't care. Okay. Right. What they did in their past.
Right.
You just want a baseline to truth.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
All right, you guys, I got to go to bed. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. We'll see you out there. We'll see you, Corey. This is very good dialogue, and this is what we need in our catfish community, in all fishing tournament community. And lake rats stick together, you guys. Even you river rats, Corey. We stick together.
See you, buddy. We did have a couple questions come in through that. Bradley Dunn wants to know, if you're testing somebody with anxiety, does that mess with the results?
That's why I do the pre-test.
Okay,
so that's locked in the settings. So
okay, so
everybody has anxiety.
Absolutely. So no matter what level of anxiety they have, that pre-test, those dialogue questions, that will get you through the anxiety and be able to, you will establish a truthful baseline off of that.
Right. Right.
Is there any medical conditions that cause different results in a test?
The only thing that, and we go through medical when I do that, what prescriptions they are on and so forth. So the only thing that could cause problems with an exam would be a beta blocker. And really all that causes is the cardio. It's just a flatline cardio. So there's no increase, decrease in the cardio.
Can you still test somebody who is on that?
I could test them because we're still getting a reading off the breathing, and we're still also getting a reading off of the electrodermal activity in the skin. So.
Okay. Bradley says, awesome. Thanks. I just panic from time to time. Absolutely looking forward to this trail. Bradley, I'm going to tell you right now, when I sat down with this man, I won the tournament fair and square. I didn't cheat. I knew I didn't cheat. But when I sat down in front of him, he doesn't look that intimidating. But when there's a $6,000 check on the other end, he's a pretty intimidating guy. So yeah. I was nervous as all get out the first time I sat down in front of him when I won the King Cat event. And I mean, he was great. We talked for a minute before we started the test. I kind of calmed down. I think maybe he could sense that I was kind of worked up. And then we got right to the baseline questions, and obviously I passed the test, no problem. But he did he did do a good job of that with me. So anybody who's worried about having to take a lie detector test, you're going to be nervous. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be all worked up. But it's the baseline questions that he goes through, and when you talk about your past and you talk about the things that you've done, and as long as you're truthful through all of that, the test goes pretty easy after that. Skip Martin says, I think he's given me a test before in a trail somewhere. He looks familiar. He probably has. You do a lot of trails local, I would imagine, right? A lot of the Ohio trails.
I do a lot of the Ohio trails, and then of course I do King Cat that you're aware of. So.
Right. Well, and I know Skip fishes King Cat, so that's probably where you ran about him. I would like you. I know I've taken up a bunch of your time, and I'm sorry. These guys are. This is just a conversation everybody wanted to have. I wanted you to kind of touch base again on the lie detectors can't be used in court, because my whole life I was under the assumption that you can't take a lie detector test and then use it against me. So the reason I asked that is because if you were to. And in the way, like I said, the way it works on our trail is if you test somebody and they fail, I'm then going to test their partner. If their partner also fails, then they are disqualified. They're not getting paid. In that scenario, they're like, no, we didn't cheat. They decide to turn around and sue the trail. Obviously, my attorney is going to call you as an expert witness. You're the one who did the polygraph. Would that polygraph be admissible in that case?
It would. But like I said before, when we were talking earlier, you've got to have that listed in your rules and regulations of the fishing tournament before the tournament occurs. So
yeah, and we do. We put it right at the beginning, and then, like I said, everybody has to sign a waiver saying they read and agree to the rules. So,
and once they sign that, there's no argument.
That's what I figured, and I figured it would get quashed by a lawyer well before it ever went to court. But in the case that were to happen, you could then be subpoenaed as an expert witness, and your test would be valid in a court of law.
Right, and prime example, if it was the case that there would be attorneys filing on these fishing tournaments, then you wouldn't be using examiners. Think about that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Austin Kyler asked me, does the polygraph come out of the payouts? No, Austin, actually the polygraph money is all sponsored money. I actually just posted on our Facebook page, I posted the graphs. Those are the exact payouts you guys can expect at every one of our tournaments that you fish. We have sponsored money pays for a lot of things. It pays for the director's travel, pays for polygraph exams. It's when we have to get Brad a room, it's going to pay for his room. So no, the anglers do not pay for the polygraph test. The trail covers that. So guys, do you have any other questions for Brad? Brian wants to know, are the questions just yes or no answers?
Yes, they're yes and no answers.
So you guys have any other questions for Brad? If not, we're going to let him get out of here, and we'll talk about the tournaments that we have coming up. And I don't think I got anything else for you. I think let me check one thing real fast. I just want to make sure I touched on – I had a list I wanted to go over, and, of course, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I can't remember the list. Well, if I can find what happened to it. Here we go. What is your take on testing anglers the same day as the tournament? Because from what has been said, there are other lie detector polygraph administrators that said you cannot test the same day after a fisherman's been on the water all day. What's your take on that?
As long as they get a good night's rest before, they're fine. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you think about this, law enforcement typically will bring people in under investigation, interview them, and then do a polygraph exam on them same day sometimes. Sometimes slightly, sometimes same day.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, after a detective's been in there drilling them for hours, then they'll give them a polygraph. I mean, I think I'd have much more rest in me after fishing all day than being drilled by a detective, I would think.
Right.
And then the only other thing I have, it looks like there's no other questions either. The only other thing I have and what I want to end this on is, and we've said it several times tonight, I'm sorry I'm sounding like a broken record, but I really want people to hear this because this was the one item that was listed in this discussion that I felt negatively impacted the fishing community because it kind of provided an out, right? The way it was listed is anglers should not be disqualified based on a polygraph test alone, and the angler has the right to legal action if done so. I feel like that kind of is telling people, well, if you're on the line and you fail, just sue them.
Where's that coming from?
This is a new director that's starting a tournament who went out and he talked to several polygraph examiners. I don't think what he did is wrong. I don't think that's at all. I mean, you absolutely should go and try to figure out everything you can before you make a decision. If you're going to run a trail that pays a lot of money, I agree with it. I think some of the information relayed to him was wrong. I think, and you've kind of
let me put it this way: do you what as far as your rules and regulations? Do you regulate bait? Do you regulate fishing pools? Do you regulate anything like that?
We regulate where you can fish. We regulate how many poles you can use. We regulate start and end times, and we regulate how many people can be on the boat. That's pretty much a gist of our.
And that's all within the rules and regulations of your fishing tournament, correct?
Yes, it's all written out word for word.
It's the same with polygraphs. If you put that in your regulations, there is no legal action on it.
Okay, yeah, that's because that's. I just wanted to know what like, and obviously you've been doing this a long time. It's not an easy avenue out. If you fail because you don't get paid because you fail a lie detector test, going and wasting the money to sue, especially if you know in your head you did something wrong, probably not a good idea.
Right. And typically the people that are against polygraph exams have probably failed a polygraph exam in the past because they lied about something that they've done in their background. So that would be probably why somebody's griping about a polygraph exam.
And if you were to, would you agree with the statement that I made earlier in that if you're worried, these guys are out there fishing, they get out there and they're worried if something they're going to do is going to make them fail the polygraph test and they probably shouldn't do it.
If you didn't cheat on your wife and you're going in and take a polygraph exam, are you going to worry about it? No, you're not.
Exactly.
If you cheated on your wife, you're scared you're going to get caught. Okay. Same principle with fishing tournaments, with criminal and so on.
And I had a guy ask me, he said, well, what if I'm catching bait? Because you can use, I don't know if you know anything about catfishing, you use the throw net to catch shad, but anything outside of shad caught in that throw net is illegal. And he was like, what if I accidentally dump the shad in the bucket and then at the end of the day I find a bluegill in there I didn't know was in there? And I said, well, you didn't break the law. Tell the truth. Fish back, or and one guy said, what if I catch him in my net and I see him in there right away? Well, it's not against the law to catch him in the net. It's against the law to catch him and keep him. If you put him back, you haven't broke the law.
Right.
So, okay. Well, like I said, I didn't mean to take up that much of your time, but I really appreciate you coming on here. And it puts at least everybody now when they see at the fishing tournaments aren't going to be wondering who you are. They know that you're there to give polygraph tests. So, and hopefully it puts any questions about your integrity or your background. I think you're more than qualified to test a couple fishermen.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the time with everybody and you. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Brad. It's been great talking to you. Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye. Jamie, he actually said that he would not tell us what the baseline questions were, which I understand. That gives people an avenue to know what's coming and try to beat the test. So we didn't go over any of the questions he's going to ask, but I can tell you in mine, we sat down and he said, Corey, have you ever stolen anything in your life? Now, remember, that could be all the way back when you were 5 years old and you stole a candy bar from Sunoco. I said, yes. I stole a pack of gum one time when I was 6. So it's, those are the kind of questions he's going to ask. Now, is he going to say, did you murder somebody last night at approximately 8 p.m.? I highly doubt that's one of the questions, but he will ask you about your background, about your criminal history. And like he said, be honest. If you stole something, if you smoked weed, if you did meth, it doesn't matter. Just be honest with him. Now, if you did kill somebody and you admit to it, I'm sure he's a mandated reporter. He's going to have to tell him that you killed somebody. But hopefully we don't have any murderers fishing in our trail. So I really wanted to do that segment just because it wasn't a heated exchange, but there was a conversation that turned into a discussion on Facebook that really got into the depths of lie detectors. And again, the guy that put it on, he's a new tournament director. He was deciding if he was going to have lie detector tests in his tournament. And he was told by several different lie detector tests. One thing he talked about was the price of our test. You know, I don't share the information of how much our test cost. The Mid-Ohio serial fisher would be wild. But Tosh did explain that he pays $275. Again, he has to drive 10 minutes to take those. The chances at 2 serial killers in this trail is highly unlikely. So so he does. He has to drive 5 minutes to do Tosh's test. He charges $275 to do Tosh's test. What does that matter as long as he has the qualifications, the education, the certification? What does it matter how much he charges to give the test? I give people discounts all the time just because I'm a nice guy. So, I mean, the cost of a test shouldn't have to do with anything. Now that segment's over, and hopefully that is going to retain watchers so that we can get 42 minutes into this, let's talk about what we got coming up. If you guys have any questions, please put them in here. I will be happy to text them to Brad and get an answer to you. What we got coming up this weekend, our length division tournament, Rocky Fork. We prefer that people use a musky bumper board. We will have 11 musky bumper boards to let people borrow. So if you need a board for the length division, just call me up. We have 11. I'll let you borrow one for this first event. We are going to ask that you eventually purchase one, but if you show up every event and you need a board, I'm not going to turn you away. I'm going to let you borrow one. We will have more boards in the future. We're working on getting more stickers so that we can make more boards. The boards that I'm going to let you borrow, I'm not going to lie, are big, bulky, heavy. The whole purpose is I don't want you to keep my board. Austin, how many fish are recorded for length? Is it one fish? Austin, the tournament on Sunday will be your 3 biggest fish. Oh boy, here they all come. Bunch of questions. Our length division is based off your 3 biggest fish, and there's a big fish pot. Paula needs to know how long the board needs to be. Paula, as long as it is a commercially manufactured board, and I get to certify it, meaning that before you launch, you swing by the ramp, let me measure it to make sure it does match. 1 inch is actually 1 inch. You can use it. What you need to understand is if you only get a 36-inch board and you catch a fish that's bigger than 36 inches, I'm only going to give you credit for 36 inches because that's all that's on your board. Or you can borrow one of mine. Again, mine are going to be a 60-inch long 2x6 with a sticker on it and 2 2x4s. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be bulky. The whole purpose is you can borrow this board and it works. I'd really like you to buy a board. If you can't buy a board, no problem. You can borrow it, but nobody's going to want to take a hunk of wood that's 60 inches long. No one's going to log that around all day. So it's in hopes that if I let you borrow my board, you're going to give it back because you're not going to want to keep it. I would recommend, just like Austin, a 60-inch board. That covers any fish you're going to catch in Ohio, and most fish you're going to catch out of state. I've only ever caught one fish bigger than 60 inches. It was 64 inches and weighed 118 pounds. So, Paula, I would think a 48-inch board will be fine for Rocky Fork, but there are big flatheads in there, and I would feel really bad if you caught a 50-inch flathead, and I only could give you credit for 48 inches of it. So, and I've never seen one. I've also never heard of it. but I've heard from a reliable source, actually 2 reliable sources now, that there is an occasional giant blue cat in Rocky Fork. They've been weighed in a couple times in tournaments. I've only fished there one time, so of course I've never seen it, but I heard from 2 different sources that have been catfishing a long time that there have been instances where a 40 or 50 pound blue cat was weighed in at Rocky Fork. How they got there, no one knows. But it was actually an ODNR officer who told me he saw one that was 48 pounds. So the theory is somebody caught them and put them in there from the river. That's the theory. They were not stocked, but who knows if they're there or not. Again, I don't know. 2 different sources. One was an ODNR officer. One was another tournament director. There have been fish that big caught there. I kind of believe the ODNR officer. Why would he lie? And I believe the tournament director. I have mad respect for the guy that said it. Tomorrow, we will have a virtual captains meeting tomorrow to go over all of the stuff. Maybe they needed a lie detector. Well, we're going to get Brad out there and see what they're saying. But the way you measure a fish, and I will do a virtual lie detector or a virtual captains meeting tomorrow about that. And I'll have a video that Kayak Mike made on how you measure a fish, but you'll have your board laying in front of you. A channel cat or a blue cat is laid on its right side with its left eye up. That is the most important thing. Make sure your fish is on its right side, left eye up. You bump it against the board, and when you take your picture, we have to be able to see the bump and where the tail falls on the fish. So, again, I'll show you a video on that tomorrow at our virtual captains meeting that starts at 7:30. And there will be plenty of videos and all the time in the world to ask questions. If you want to get a head start and you want to go check out Rocky Fork before you fish the event on Sunday, Willie Smith is holding a tournament down there on Saturday. Starts at 7 a.m., runs 7 to 3. It's a traditional weight style tournament. 1 fish. 1 biggest fish, $50 entry. Whoever shows up, shows up. It was kind of just thrown together today, but I'm more than happy to advertise Willie's tournament. I try and fish all of Willie's events. He's an awesome guy. He actually is where I got the idea to start this trail. I fished a couple of his events, and I'm like, man, I want to fish more local lakes like Deer Creek and Rocky Fork and Paint Creek, and that's how this trail got started. And that's why last year we were only local lakes. We didn't go to the river until the championship. So, again, that's Willie Smith at North Shore Boat Ramp tomorrow, 7 a.m. Not tomorrow. Saturday, 8 a.m. Be there by 7:30. Not live tournament, but a live mock polygraph. I'll pay for it and have a great idea how to do it. That's a good idea, Tosh. Maybe we'll do that live on here so everybody can see how. Well, I don't know. He doesn't want people to know the questions. So, I don't know. I think that's a tipsy-turnsy scale there. But then, so we have our length division this Sunday. I would love to see every single one of you come fish the length. If you've never fished a length event, you can fish as a team. You can fish as your boat can have 2 people on it. You can fish as a team. It's $50 entry, but you're only allowed 3 rods. And the reason you're only allowed 3 rods is the guy on the bank is only allowed 3 rods. The guy in the kayak is only allowed 3 rods. The one guy in a canoe is only allowed 3 rods. So you're welcome to fish as a team. And if you do fish as a team, it's a $50 entry, but you only get 3 rods. It's 1-man rules, right? So in the boat world, we let you have as many teammates as you want. We do 2-man rules. In the length division, in the kayak world, it's 1-man rules, 3 rods. I would love to see every single one of you come and try it. If you've never tried a length division, it's a lot of fun. Go to the Mid-Ohio Catfishing page. There's a link on there. Click on the link. Click on the link there. You'll be able to sign up. It's through the Fishing Chaos app. You pay and everything right there. It gets you registered for the tournament. You're good to go. Everything's great. Yes, Austin. Yes, you can. If you sign up to the Fishing Chaos app, try to do it before the captain's meeting so I have an idea tomorrow at 7 p.m. Try to do it before the captain's meeting so I have an idea how many people are going to be there. Make sure that we're going to have enough boards, which we will. If we need more, I will start calling people I know that have boards, and I'll borrow them. I want everybody to at least experience the length division. There's going to be a lot of times throughout this trail that we fish a boat division on Saturday and a length division on Sunday. It will be beneficial to fish them both. There's 2-point races there, 2 championships there, 2 Angler of the Years there, and 2 Elite 8s, 2 different Elite 8 tournaments going on there. So you have opportunity in 2 different trails to win the Angler of the Year, to win the championship, to win the overall points race, and to win the Elite 8. Why not broaden, if you have the means to and you want to, why not broaden your horizons? Try both. And who knows? I know boat guys that then went and bought a kayak because they liked fishing out of kayaks and on the length division better than out of a boat. Me, I like them both. I'm going to be fishing them both. I enjoy fishing out of both. Chris got an extra kayak, and I'm going to use his extra kayak this year. So I'm excited for that. Austin, what do you mean by how many points do you get for this one? I'm not sure. If you're asking like how the point structure is, it's the exact same as the boat tournament. So it's 100 for first, 90 for second, 85 for third, then 84, 83, 82, 81, 70, or 80, 79, 78, etc. The point race is ran the exact same way, but it's two different races. So if you win on Saturday and you win on Sunday in one of our events, you get 100 points on Saturday and 100 points on Sunday in two different races. Another cool thing about the link division is since it's ran through the Fishing Chaos app. Oh, no problem, buddy. Since it's ran through the Fishing Chaos app, the app actually tallies all of your points. Here's one thing to remember about the app and the points race. When you become a member of our trail and you sign up for an event, you get 25 points for every event you sign up. So that in mind, if somebody signs up for all 12 events, they're automatically going to have their five best are going to have 25 points. That does not mean they're winning until we get 5 events in. The points race may not be right because if somebody signs up for all the tournaments, they automatically get 25 points just for signing up. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that because it may be wrong. And I'm going to look in the settings later and see if I can change that. I don't know if I can or not, but as of now, every time you sign up for a tournament, it will give you 25 points. That doesn't really mean anything because it's your best 5. So after 5 tournaments, then that would start setting in. You'll see that guy. Maybe he signed up for the last 5 tournaments. He's been at the top all year. He's going to drop down to the bottom because now we've had 5 events and there's going to be people above you. In the points or in the weight division and the points race that's in the weight division, I will personally be doing all the adding and I'll post a sheet every week with the standings. Anybody is welcome to look at the Fishing Chaos app and look at our trail to see the standings and all the tournaments. You don't have to buy a membership for the app and you don't have to sign up as a member for our tournament to see any of that. When you go to sign up, you'll sign up for the tournament and then it'll say one trail participating, Mid-Ohio Catfish. Click on that. It'll say become a member. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. But if you want your points to accumulate, you have to be a member on there. I can go in and add you as a member later. Makes it a lot easier if you guys can just sign up as members on your own through the app. That brings us to the final thing we got 2 more things to talk about. One of the final things we're going to talk about, the following weekend on April 13th, just so everybody knows, that's my birthday. I wasn't going to fish, but then we had this doohickey with the rain, so now we got everything switched around. On April 13th at 7 a.m., we're at Rocky Fork for the weight division tournament. So this weekend on Sunday at 7 a.m., we're at Rocky Fork for the length division. Next weekend on the 13th at 7 a.m., we're at Rocky Fork for the weight division. Please don't get the 2 mixed up. It's this weekend length, next weekend weight. It starts at 7. It goes till 3 like always. We'll do a live weigh-in. I don't know if the camera crew is going to be able to make it to that one. They may be there. They may not. I'm not sure. Rocky Fork is primarily a channel cat lake. Giant channel cats. Like Sandusky giant channel cats. There are some flatheads in there. All good fishermen are born in the first 2 weeks of April. Happy birthday, man. April Fool's Day here. Well, happy birthday, Tosh. There are giant flatheads in there, and the last tournament I fished there, I got 3rd because a guy did show up with a giant flathead. That last tournament I fished there, we caught 40 fish and could not find our 2 unders. So trust me when I tell you, it is a great lake with a lot of last week in March. It is a great lake. I can't post that comment, Justin. That's mean. But it's a great lake. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully Justin makes it up to fishing. He should. He should drive from West Virginia up here to fish the Rocky Fork event. And then when a kayak beats him, what does that say, Justin? So, lastly, we got our shirts in today. I'm actually wearing one. The shirts are for sale. Don't mind my messy hair. The shirts are for sale. They have the logo on the front, and then on the back they have the schedule with 2 spelling errors. That's what happens when you're in a hurry. But lastly, we have the King of the Bay event. I just want to touch on it. I still have registrations flowing through. I'm getting a couple every day. Guys, we really want to make that big. I want to make sure you guys, if you can, share it out, the King of the Bay stuff. We'd like to get a lot of bank fishermen involved. That's really what the King of the Bay event is about, is getting a bunch of bank fishermen involved. And and obviously kayaks and canoes and everybody. And then don't forget on May 4th, we also have our Sandusky event coming up. One thing I want to go through real fast with you guys is I want to go through, let's see here. I want to go through the payout schedules. Share screen. Give me 1 second. I'm still trying to figure this out here. All right, so on the weight division, make sure it's sharing here. On the weight division, you have, if you look at this, oh, where'd it go? Hold on. I don't even know which one it's sharing. Come on, Corey. Get yourself together here, buddy. It is sharing the weight. All right, this is the one it's sharing. If you look at this, you'll see, well, that's the wrong one. This is actually, I lied. This is the length. Hold on. Let me get back over here. Sorry, guys. Let me get to the right one. Let's try this again. There we go. Now, here we go. So if you look at this, this is the weight for a normal event. Every event has $1,000 sponsorship. I'm just showing you guys how to read this. Every event has $1,000 sponsorship. If one boat shows up, you're gonna get the $1,000 and your $80 you put into the pot and your $20, and you are walking out with, well, that's wrong. What happened there? Oh yeah, you're walking out with a total of $1,100. Your $20 big bitch pot. If two boats show up, winner's walking out with $1,160. If three boats show up, etc. If we get all the way down here, if we get 50 participants, first place would be $2,750. Big fish would be $1,000. So to win that event and get big fish with 50 participants would then pay $3,750. So I wanted to bring that up so you guys knew. I added this yesterday. I wanted to make sure that everybody could see it and make sure that you knew what was going on there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot Jamie said it was his birthday day. Happy birthday, Jamie. Need your StreamYard expertise? Yes, we do. It's a learning experience. I can't do StreamYard. Any vets in here not able to fish, I would love to have you for the Bay on the 4th or any one of the tournaments on the trail. That's awesome. So any vets that want to fish that don't have a boat, Austin says you can be his partner. So, again, we have the Bay coming up. The Bay, I don't know what I did with those ones. I did the payout for the Bay, and it is astronomical. It's $11,000 in the pot and $3,000 in big fish. I think if we get 100 entries at the Bay on May 4th, I think first place pays like $7,000, and if you get big fish, it'd pay like $8,000. So make sure you get the word out about our tournament on the Sandusky Bay on May 4th. And let's not forget, between then and now, we have Hoover and Cincinnati on the river. So I know this one's cut kind of short only because I did one yesterday. I'm doing one today, and I'm doing one tomorrow. So tomorrow we will do our virtual captains meeting. Guys, please, if you are going to sign up for that link division, try to sign up by tomorrow at 7 p.m. That way I can get you guys in there, and I can make sure I'll be doing a how to be a member and everything video tomorrow. So you'll be able to pull up your app while you're signed up. You'll be able to click through everything. So again, that tournament tomorrow is on Rocky Fork, or not tomorrow. That tournament on Sunday is on Rocky Fork, and the captains meeting's tomorrow at 7. Oh, you got to make it an hour long to help with the algorithm. Perfect. Hit the share, spread the word. Absolutely. we are here to be clear and transparent as we can be with you guys. And we just want to grow this tournament trail to be one of the best in Ohio. I think we are already claiming the title of the largest tournament trail in Ohio, rightfully so. 19 weight events, 12 length events, and a championship for both, and the top 8 for both, the elite 8 for both. I think that would give us the title of the largest tournament trail in Ohio. I believe we have the largest. I'll be at Rocky, and I'll be at 5 for the year. Give me the belt. Look at that. Kayak Mike says he's going to make it to Rocky Fort. So when I started the length division, I told my board, I said, I want to start this so Mike has an avenue to fish, because he's so busy with everything he does for everybody else. And he has been a huge supporter of us doing this trail. He's the one who linked us up with Fishing Chaos. And he's answered some questions that our judge had. Mike's been judging fish on Fishing Chaos since he was in diapers. So our judge just had some questions on how the layout works. He's been super supportive, and I'm happy to see that he'll have an opportunity to fish again. I don't think he's going to win the belt, but hope you boat guys don't get upset that a kayak guys come in and whoop you. Sunday start time, entry cost of the Rocky Fork ramp. Bill, Sunday it starts at 7 a.m. I'm going to, once I get off here, I'm going to post the link on our Facebook page on how to sign up. So make sure you watch our Facebook page. Starts at 7 a.m. You can launch at 5 a.m. and be sitting in your spot and ready to put lines in the water. Sunday morning at 7 a.m. There is no meeting at the start. It's at any ramp. I will be at the North Shore ramp. It's at any ramp. If you need to borrow a board, I'll be at the North Shore ramp. You can come get one from me. Incoming skunk for me and lots of napping during tournament times. Good luck. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate your support, buddy. It's $50 a team. It's really, if you want to fish a single, you can, because you're only allowed 3 rods, no matter if you're on a team or not. What's the biggest tournament in Ohio? I have to, man. All right, Tosh Collins holds the biggest tournament in Ohio. I hold the biggest tournament trail in Ohio. But listen, we're going to beat him in Sandusky. Let's get 700 people in the length division so that my judge in Florida has to spend 5 days judging fish. I'm just kidding. Josh, we love you. So it's $50. Any ramp, lines in at 7, can launch at 5. You have to be registered on the Fishing Chaos app. That's where, well, thank you, Tosh. I appreciate that. That's where you're going to submit pictures of your fish. Tomorrow, I will be showing a bunch of videos and how to measure fish and how to use the app. And then also my phone number's on there. You guys are more than welcome to call me the day of the tournament if you have any issues in submitting a fish or anything like that. So with that said, we're happy that Mike's coming. I think Mike's bringing a friend too. I don't know. Can we search for bait at 5? Once you launch at 5, you can do whatever you want. Bill, it is $50 per boat. So the one thing to remember, though, is if you're going to fish on a boat, and you're allowed to fish on a team as a boat, but it's only 3 rods. You can do whatever you want but catfish from 5 to 7. So with nothing else to do, we will see you guys tomorrow. But as always, let's exit with our favorite song from the birthday boy himself, Jamie Rose. If you guys didn't know, Man Rose in the comment wrote this song, sent it to me. He sent me a studio version that I have not turned into a slideshow yet. But with nothing else to do, let this take us away, and then I'll come back for questions.
Well, grab your boat and pole. We're heading for a fishing hole somewhere in the state of Ohio. You may fish in Sandusky, but we ain't gonna count no muskie. 'Cause it's the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. You may try that Lake Dillon, it depends on how you're feeling. It's the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. It don't cost much to enter, you may just be a winner at the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. At the Mid-Ohio Catfish Tournament Trail. Come on down and join us, you hear?
Now remember, you may fish in Sandusky. We're not weighing in any muskie, though. Awesome, Bill. I appreciate it. Yes, you can start going to fish to pick your spots at 5. You can be sitting in your spot to put the lines in the water at 7. You're welcome to do that. So, Bill, I'm happy to hear that you're coming. I'm going to post the link right now on the Facebook page to the app so you guys can sign up. And then, like I said, you'll want to catch the virtual captains meeting tomorrow at 7. Guys, thanks for hanging out. The beginning of this was phenomenal. If you guys didn't get to catch the beginning of this, please go back and watch it. It was a great video about tournament fishing and lie detectors, and we had Brad Kelly, our lie detector, our polygraph examiner, on here. He did a great job. Super great turnout. Bill, there's actually 2 tournaments on Rocky Fork this weekend. If you didn't know, on Saturday, Willie Smith is holding a weight style tournament. 1 big fish. It starts at 7 a.m. on Saturday, and then we are coming down on Sunday. We hope to see everybody at both of them, and then we will be back there next Saturday for another weight event. Hope to see you guys at all of them. Every tournament we hold this year would be great, but obviously people's got lives and things to do. We appreciate you guys. I am super excited about this season and what we got going on, what you, the anglers, are doing for this tournament trail. I need you to know that I'm pouring my heart out into it this year. The board's pouring their heart out into it. Guys who weren't even part of the trail, didn't know anything about it until I called them, like Tosh Collins, is doing everything he can to help promote this trail to make it the biggest trail in Ohio. We want to do low entry fees and high payouts, and we are there. So we will see you guys soon. We appreciate everything. Appreciate you guys. See you on the water.